Day. We'll talk to you again soon. You know, the market, which is back up in 3 digits, 100 plus points, 18,705 is where the index is now at. Ritu Arora is Chief Executive Officer and Chief Investment Officer at Allianz Investment Management. Ritu, good afternoon. Great to have you with us here. Prashant this side. I was reading your views from, one of the earlier interviews that you had given. And you, at that point, this is about a month ago, were sounding a little skeptical about valuations here. You basically were finding valuations in India a little too rich as compared to, markets in the region. Where are things at now? If anything, I mean, markets have come up a little bit more, especially mid caps and small caps. What's the view?
To put it in right perspective, first of all, thank you so much. And to put my view on markets in perspective, I think markets are positioned at a point where one cannot call them cheap, Indian markets do not reflect the growth erosion we see elsewhere. The fact that interest rates are heading towards a pause, but there's no pivot yet. And corporate earnings in India also see some kind of moderation. Hence, markets are poised at a level that I believe more than reflect the fundamentals at this point in time. But there are pockets, there are entry opportunities, there are sectors that do offer opportunities for investment. Overall, Allianz and we remain extremely bullish on India. We believe it's a sweet spot, a bright spot, and so strategically very committed to India.
Hi, Ritu. Good to speak to you. Nigel on this side. Out of the total money that you're managing, under the management, I think it's around $40 billion in entire Asia. Could you tell us what is the allocation to India as of now? And also incremental money, where does it find its way? India versus other markets.
So Allianz has a very broad presence in Asia in terms of businesses. In India, we have a joint venture, a very successful one with Bajaj Allianz, life insurance as well as general insurance. And the AUM that we have in India is over 10 billion. Overall, the money that comes in from overseas is also quite significant, and we invest in private debt, private equity, besides public debt, public equity, real estate through PIMCO. So we have a very wide footprint of investments, including impact investments and blended finance vehicles that we are developing, and then we have already made some investments also. So we are actually quite broad-based in the way we look at India.
Ritu, hi. I believe that, in terms of the global mandate, and that applies to the market here in India as well, the go green part of it, or sustainability, that seems to be a big focus for Allianz when you're looking at managing money. So when you apply that to the Indian context here, what are the opportunities that you're finding here in India, the valuations? There's a lot of, there's a lot of conversation. Reliance itself, there's so much going on. There's a lot going on the EV side of things as well. So how are you applying that to your investments here in India?
Sure. Allianz is a founder of United Nations Net Zero Asset Owners Alliance, and we've taken commitments to lower our footprint by 25% investment carbon in investments by 2025 over 2029. So it's a very significant commitment that we have taken. So this we handle in two ways. One is, of course, deselecting and reducing exposures to those companies and businesses which are not so sustainable. And two is adding exposures and investments in sustainable, green, new age technologies, EV, etc. So we approach it from both perspectives. As I shared earlier, we've made our very first investments in impact, which focuses on EV vehicles, EV buses for corporate solutions, waste management, water management, etc. So, and I believe this is a very large evolving space for India. India as a country has made very significant commitments and is walking the talk and making very, very good measures and providing good incentives for this transition. This transition is an expensive transition, and public capital has to be supported and partnered with by private capital like ours. And hence, there are a lot of opportunities that are now developing for investments. You've named a few, but there are many more.
All right, we'd like you to tell us about the many more, Ritu. Also, while giving us a sense of how would you approach it? Because it's relatively easier to distinguish between the good and the bad. What's difficult is distinguishing between good and better. Say, for instance, there is a company that is likely to grow at about 8%, but has a 7 out of 10 on the ESG parameter, whereas there is a company which is growing just about 5%, but has a 9 out of 10, on the ESG score. How do you approach that? And what then takes precedence? Just wanted to understand that thought process and the other areas that you're talking about in terms of opportunities.
The choices are usually not as difficult as you made it out to be, because we have realized and noticed and are very committed and understand that companies that are sustainable and transitioning to the right way of doing businesses are also more profitable. Our experience has demonstrated that in the long term emerge as winners. And this is not a new measure that we've started looking at green and sustainability. Allianz has been committed to this for years now, itself a carbon neutral company for decades. So hence, we strongly believe that fundamentally those businesses will survive and thrive, which are sustainable. So the choice is not as difficult as you may make it out to be. But if it were, then definitely, if it was a company which is low ranking on sustainability, we would not be very keen to invest in it unless there is a roadmap that is committed and demonstrated of transitioning. So for us, it is a very important criteria. It is fiduciary capital, and hence we are very much focused on generating market returns for our policyholders and shareholders, but not at the cost of doing business with companies that are not sustainable. So that is very much intrinsically woven into every investment decision, and the commitment is very deep.
Ritu, sorry, just to clarify, just to kind of get a sense, so you oversee investments across Asian markets, Ritu?
That's right. That's right. So we have presence in 12 countries.
Yeah, in India, this is through the Bajaj Allianz route, which also you oversee investments through that route into the listed. Sorry.
In Bajaj Allianz, as required by the law of the land, it's only through board. So we do not oversee directly investments. They have independent teams as well as board managed joint venture.
And the $10 billion number that comes under the Bajaj Allianz joint venture?
That's true. That is. And the 42 billion is rest of Allianz money that is managed through other Asian countries as well as European balance sheets.
I got it. Thanks very much, Ritu. Appreciate you joining in, and great conversation. Hope that this is the first of many, and we'll see you soon again. Thanks indeed.
All right. Thank you. A pleasure.